we're going to go ahead and move on into our next unit. And we're going to be talking about area of different shapes through this unit. So we're going to start off with what I think is the easiest one to deal with is just rectangles and parallelograms. Okay, so on this one, we're just measuring real quick what's the width or the base of this rectangle?
8.1.
8.1. Okay. And then, what's the height to the width?
No, 6.6.
Yeah, it's kind of right between. Let me get it better. It's
7.
I don't know. Let's just go with 7 to make it easier. Okay, so we're going to be doing perimeter and area. So what is perimeter?
Adding all the sides.
It's adding up all the sides. It's how far it takes to go the entire outside of it. All right, so on this, we're going to do, I hear people singing songs in their head to remind them of what perimeter does. Okay, so you add up all the outside edges. So 8.1 plus 7 plus 8.1 plus 7. And so the perimeter is 30.2 centimeters. Okay, now we haven't talked about it, but how do you find the area of a rectangle?
Length times width.
Yeah, it's just length times width, or you could say base times height. All right, so it's either length times width, or you could say base times height, same thing. So it's just 8.1 times 7.
56.7.
And so 56.7. Now, one thing we got to be careful of here is we did measure this in centimeters, so the units are centimeters, but on area, it's the units squared, okay? On the perimeter, it's to the first because perimeter is just a linear measurement. It's just how far it is. So it's just those units. Area is how many squares it takes to basically fill that up. And we'll talk a lot more about that as we go through this unit, but just for now, whenever you're giving area, the units is always squared. All right. Next one. What's the length of this one?
10.1.
Yeah, it's kind of in between there. Let's just go with 10 just to make it easier, but it's probably 10.5, 10.05 or something like that. Okay, so what's the width of this?
3.
Okay, we're going to go with 3 just for it being easy. So what's the perimeter going to be? 26, bless you. And then what's the area going to be?
30.
30 what?
Centimeters.
Centimeters squared, or square centimeters. Cubic is for volume. We'll deal with that in the next units, which will be several weeks. Okay, so on this one, 4.4 by about 4. 4.4 by 4. So 4.4 plus 4 plus 4.4 plus 4. Yeah, there is a lot of 4s. 16.8. And then for the area of 4.4 times 4, okay, is 17.6 centimeters squared. All right. Now, okay, guys, there's too much talking. I need you listening, please. So what I want to do is I want to find the area of this. Now, just basically ignore these lines right here. What shape is this right here?
Rectangle. Trapezoid.
Ooh.
It's a rhombus.
He said forget the triangle.
It's a kite. No. It's a square with rectangle.
No. Forget these lines, okay? Just scrub those out in your mind. Just think about the overall bigger shape.
It's a rhombus. It's a
No.
It's a
Okay, it's a quadrilateral. That's better, but we want more specific than quadrilateral.
No.
Okay, thank you. There it is. It is a parallelogram, okay? These two sides are parallel to each other. These two sides are parallel to each other. So how do we find the area of a parallelogram? Okay, so here's what I want you to see. Now, this is a parallelogram, so these two sides are parallel to each other. So what I did is I just cut out another triangle, okay, from another one. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to slide this one over, cover this up. That's not there anymore. And bring it over here and put it right there.
Wait a minute. That's a rectangle. Wait a minute.
Okay, good. So it makes it into a rectangle. And that's the way it's always going to work with a parallelogram. If you cut that one side off and slide it over here, it's always going to fit exactly into that blank spot right there. So how would we find the area of this rectangle?
Go from.
I mean, it's the same thing as what we just did, right? We would measure the base, measure the height, multiply those, and we've got the area. So that's what I'm going to do is measure the base.
Wait, but how do we do that?
We're just measuring it. So 11.8. Okay. And then now all I need is the height. So I can measure that anywhere along here. Let's do it right here. About 6.6.
Oh.
Okay, so for the area of this parallelogram, doing the base of 11.8 times the height of 6.6. What does that give us? 77.88 square centimeters. Okay, so in a parallelogram, okay, remember a parallelogram, these two sides are parallel to each other, these two sides are parallel to each other. So the area of this parallelogram is simply base times height. From here to here is the base, and then this line right here is the height. And of course, the one thing to remember on a parallelogram, let me just draw another one here. Remember on a parallelogram that the opposite sides are always congruent. So those two sides are equal to each other, and these two sides are equal to each other. So that's going to help us with, well, it's going to help us with several things, but also with perimeter. But here's the main formula for area of a parallelogram, which is the same thing as the area of a rectangle. Because a parallelogram, like I just showed you, turns into a rectangle whenever you cut this off and fill it in over here. All right, so I'm going to skip all those, and that one's too skewed. It's just not worth looking at. So let's look at this one right here. So on all these, what we're doing is we're looking for the perimeter, and we're looking for the area. So on this one, we can find the perimeter with what we've already got. This side is 21. So how long is this whole side down here? 21, because in a parallelogram, opposite sides are congruent. So we have 21, 21. This side is 17. How long is this side over here?
17.
17. So to find the perimeter, I'm going to do 21 plus 17 plus 21 plus 17. What does it give you? 76. Okay. 76 centimeters. Okay, now we want to find the area. And to find the area, I need base times height. So what is the base of this parallelogram?
21.
Good, it's 21. Right, we already know that's 21. Times, what's the height? Okay, and 17 is not the height.
11.
Okay, the height is this right here.
Oh.
So, if you think about this triangle right here, how could I find this side right here?
A squared plus b squared plus c
Good, Pythagorean theorem is what we're going to have to use here. So x squared plus 8 squared equals 17 squared. So x squared plus 64 equals 289. Subtract 64, x squared equals 225. To get rid of that squared, go take the square root. And what's the square root of 225? 15.
But we're not done yet.
Oh, we're done with that. It's 15.
The height is 15, though. No, I'm talking about overall.
Oh, okay, yeah. So the height is 15, so the base is 21 times the height of 15.
315.
315.
315 what?
Semi-square.
Centimeters squared. Okay, next one. So on this one, we're going to start off with the area because we already have everything we need for the area. It's easy. What's the base of this parallelogram?
23.
It's kind of hard to tell, but I mean, if you look up there, you can barely see it. But there's like little dots in here, like there's dots inside of here. This is blank. That's just there, just to be able to put those numbers on there. So what's the base of that parallelogram? Okay, it's 23 times what's the height of it?
24?
Yes, because the height is the perpendicular distance between the two bases. And so that's 24. It's just that the 24 is written outside of it, but it's still the height of it. So 23 times 24 is what? 552 feet squared. Now to find the perimeter, we've got to know how long this side is right here. So how am I going to find that side? I've got to use Pythagorean theorem again here. So it's 7 squared plus 24 squared equals x squared. And this is a standard Pythagorean triple. That's not a very familiar one, but if you work that out, you get that it's 25.
All right.
If a 7, 24, 25 is just a standard Pythagorean triple. So you have 25, 25, 23, and 23 to get the perimeter. Yep. So the perimeter is 96 feet. Okay, before we get into these next ones, I want to go up here where there's a little bit of space, and I want to remind you of a couple things that we've talked about in the past. So up here in this little space, let's draw a right triangle that is a 45, 45, 90. I didn't do a very good job of that, but 45, 45, 90. So on a 45, 45, 90, whoops. What do you know about these two sides right here? They're equal, right? So this is x, this side is x. Then how do I find the hypotenuse from those legs?
Multiply by 2?
Not by 2,
By 3.
by square root of 2. Okay? Yeah, it's been a while since we've talked about this. So, for instance, let's say this side is 5. How long is this side?
10.
5.
5. And then how long is this side over here?
5 squared.
5 squared to 2.
Oh.
5 squared to 2, which, go ahead in your calculator and type that in and see what that is as a decimal. 5 squared to 2. 7.075? Is that what you said? 7.07507. Okay, so 7.07. Okay, let me remind you of the other special right triangle. What's this one?
30, 60, 90.
Good, 30, 60, 90. So on this one, the hypotenuse is 2x. The short leg is x. It's half of the hypotenuse. And then how long is the long leg? What do we do to find this leg from this leg right here? times what?
Square root of 3.
Square root of 3. Yep, times the square root of 3. So if this one is 50, if the hypotenuse is 50, how long is this side down here? 25. It's half of that. And then how long is that long leg up there? 25 times the square root of 3. Which type in 25 times the square root of 3 real quick, and let's get that as a decimal.
43.30. 43.301.
Okay? All right, so you're going to need that for a lot of what you're going to do today. So I just wanted to remind you of that. All right, so let's drop down here.
This is going to be one of the homeworks I got during this.
Okay, on this one, we're just looking for the area. Okay, so what's the base of this parallelogram? 15. The base is 15. Now I need the height right here. Okay, so if you notice right here, we have a 45, 45, 90 triangle. So we know the hypotenuse on this one, so I'm working backwards to find the legs. So what do I need to do here? Good, divide by the square root of 2. So 8.5 divided by the square root of 2. Just go ahead and type that in your calculator and let's get a decimal in there. 6.01. So there's the height, is 6.01. The base is 15. The height is 6.01. So 15 times 6.01 is what? Okay, next one. Just looking for the area here. Okay, so what is the base of this parallelogram? Yep, this side is 17, which means this side is 17. So I know the base is 17. Okay, so the question is, what's the height? And it's 9 because we have a 45, 45, 90, and these two sides right here are just equal to each other. So the height is 9. 17 times 9 is what? 153? 153 square yards. Okay, and on this one, what's the base of this parallelogram? 32. Now we need to find the height. So if this side is 12 on this 30, 60, 90, how am I going to find the height here? Times the square root of 3. So 12 times the square root of 3. What is that as a decimal? 20.78. So the area is 32 times 20.78.
664.96.
Okay, on the back of this, I want you to skip 21 and 22. Okay?